everyone feeling? Feeling good? It's Christmas season officially. I know some people like to start seeing Christmas music like November 1, but I'm a strict December 1st kind of guy.
Come on, Mitchell.
Yes, got some conviction on it. Yeah, but I'm grateful to be back. I was in Cincinnati visiting family, and then I got COVID, and now I'm good now. I'm good now. But it is nice to be back. Yeah, over Thanksgiving, great time with family. But I know for Thanksgiving, a lot of times people don't really have too many traditions. Christmas, you got like all the things, like, oh, we always bake cookies and do the. But I know for me and my family, we don't have too many Thanksgiving traditions besides eat a meal, and then we always watch like some like kind of unique movie that my dad is just like really set on. So last year we watched The Sound of Music, and I don't know why, but he just really wanted to watch it. Like, cool. And this year we watched Saving Private Ryan because my uncle is like really against watching Tom Hanks because he didn't like what he did some movie early, I forget, that was like really bad, whatever. So my dad was like, you have to watch Saving Private Ryan. So this year we watched Saving Private Ryan, and something that, or in case you don't know, it's a movie about World War II, and they have this unique mission to go save Private Ryan. And so you got this team going through D-Day and going on this mission. And something I noticed this time when watching it was, oh my goodness, they dumped a lot of power out just throughout the whole war. Oh my goodness, how much just mere strength and potency that is unleashed through them. Like whether it's like the millions of bullets shot, or you got these like they're aiming with bazookas and blowing up buildings, and then you got planes flying over with all these bombs and stuff. It's like, whoa, and you can see also Europe was kind of devastated because of the amount of power that was unleashed through World War II. And you can kind of think that, okay, wow, like these people did a lot of damage, like they unleashed a lot. But in reality, the power that was unleashed wasn't like 100% from the people, but it was more so rooted in the thing that they unleashed. And that made me think about, okay, where does the power really come from? And it's the thing that they unleash. And so today, as we've been working through the book of John as a church, today we're getting to John 19, which is just straight up the crucifixion. And as we think about as disciples, like the thing that we can unleash as witnesses of the cross is simply the love of Jesus that was poured out through the cross. And my title for today is the simple power of the cross. And it's like I got kind of insecure or try to figure out like, oh man, how am I going to pose this in a unique way and get this cool angle on the cross? Literally the same thing that Jordan said about communion. But again, like this is about it. This is about it. That Jesus loved us so much, he was willing to give everything, bankrupt heaven, go to the fullest extent that we might have the chance at knowing God, being freed from our sin. That's about it. You can go ahead and turn your Bibles to 1 Corinthians 2, because Paul really understood this too.
Come on, bro.
1 Corinthians 2, verse 1 to 2. It says, "And so it was with me, brothers and sisters. When I came to you, I did not come with eloquence or human wisdom as I proclaimed to you the testimony about God. For I resolved to know nothing while I was with you except Jesus Christ and Him crucified." So as Paul, this amazing, inspiring missionary, went to Corinth, and he's kind of recounting his relationship with them before, he came to them and he said, you know what, I didn't come with like all these fancy arguments and philosophy and try to like have this sales pitch with you about Jesus and following Him and stuff like that. But he simply said, you know what, I came weak. I didn't have too much stuff, but my pure thing that I wanted to communicate to you was Jesus and that He was crucified for you. And that was able to set the foundation for the church in Corinth. And this guy, Paul was super, super intelligent. He pretty much went to like the Jewish Harvard and was trained by Gamaliel. And you can even see, like in the book of Romans and his other works, whoa, this guy is intelligent. Like, he knows how to be eloquent. And he's got the human wisdom. He knows how to approach people and really connect straight to them. So it's not like he doesn't have the ability to use these powers to influence these people for Christ, potentially. But he knows that the one central, powerful message is simply Christ and him crucified. And he didn't want to be pulled into letting these people's faith be built upon those things, as he says later in 1 Corinthians 2. But he says, okay, I really want your heart to be based in Christ and him crucified. The cross is central now to us today. It is central to the heart of a disciple of Jesus. It's simply this message to connect to your heart and the love of God to pour into you. Because as we go through this today, many of you very likely know this, the story of Jesus and his crucifixion. You probably know this very intimately. And maybe I'm not going to give you any new information today. Yeah. But as Katie was saying earlier, having a refreshing look to allow this to come into your heart and let your heart be conditioned by the love of Jesus. Yeah. That is the point of this today. You probably already know the information. You know that Jesus died for you. But can you let the love of Jesus penetrate into your heart and let that be your foundation, let that be who you are, and let that be how you act and live? Because this is really about it. This is it. Jesus died a death so gruesome, so powerful. It started a movement today and will not stop. It's the love. It's really, really, really the love. Yeah. And with your loved ones, like, you guys tell each other, and I tell my loved ones too, right? Like, you tell each other, I love you, like, all the time. Yeah. It's not because this person doesn't know it, right? These people, they probably know it intellectually, but it's because you want to connect with their heart and continue to impress that upon their heart, not necessarily their mind. And even today, we already took communion, right? We've already been thinking. Jordan's pretty much said like the same thing I'm about to say. I'm just going to go into more depth. And I was thinking, maybe we should just like not have a communion today and attach it on the end of this, just so it's smoother. And it's just redundant. Like, he's just going to say the same thing. I'm going to say it anyways. And then I realized, I think that's exactly why we should take communion on the day that I'm preaching about the cross. Because, man, we have to get it through our brain that it's not about learning this new information, but it's just about your heart being conditioned to be with Jesus. Yeah. So this is the same information, but let it penetrate your heart and let that dig deeper into your heart. Yeah. I know for me, for real, every time I hear, like, I really don't like hearing the same thing multiple times. Like, you just tell me once and then I can just go do it, I don't want to waste all the time, whatever. But, and I definitely have temptation with, like, the cross or communion. Pretty much every time we take communion, there's this little nudge in me, like, I already know this. Okay, let's just do this again. I'll just do this thing, go in a little rhythm, and keep going. But we have to, I think for me, that's really selfishness and laziness, being too task-oriented, not focused enough on the person of Jesus. Yeah. And probably some of my pride and laziness and selfishness too, kind of hindering the love of Jesus. So my encouragement for you today is to let it hit you fresh and do your best to connect with the love that God has for you. Not the information, but the heart, the love. Because the instant that our discipleship becomes about the information that we need to do and learn and absorb, and that's the first thing, then that's how we slip into being hypocritical and Pharisees and just focus on the tasks and the things to do, rather than having the heart to connect with Jesus and let that pour into every aspect of our life. So let this hit you fresh. Do your best to connect with the love that Jesus pours out for you. Let's start in Acts 2 verse 23 to set this up.
Come on, Mitchell.
So chapter 2, verse 23. Here Peter is talking to Israelites who were physically not there crucifying Jesus, but he is kind of imparting some wisdom upon them. So verse 23. This man, talking about Jesus, was handed over to you by God's deliberate plan and foreknowledge. And you, with the help of wicked men, put him to death by nailing him to the cross. But God raised him from the dead, freeing him from the agony of death, because it was impossible for death to keep its hold on him. Something for me in the cross, and the reason why I want to go to this, the thing that really connects me with Jesus at this point is knowing that, wow, I really am responsible for this, for the death of Jesus. Even though, just like these people here, even though I wasn't there physically, this was like 2,000 years ago, so I wasn't there. I wasn't there physically, but still, my sin caused Jesus to die. If I hadn't sinned, there'd be no point in Jesus dying. So I really do have a responsibility for the death and crucifixion of Jesus. And it's easy, again, for me to say, Jesus, he died for all of humanity. And so, that, I guess, logistically, that makes a lot of sense. Like, you sacrifice one person for billions and billions. Okay, so that's not that hard of a decision. And it kind of waters it down for me. But I have to realize, no, me personally, I got some stake in this.
Yeah. Right.
And also, you got to realize, okay, whenever you sin, the wages of sin is death. And so whenever you sin, you are building your own cross that Jesus chose to bear for you. And so, and without Jesus' his sacrifice there, his love that he poured out, I would still have that cross on me. And I need help. I need someone to take it off, because man, are we so incapable of bearing that? And also, I'm so terrified of doing that. Tegan and I watched The Passion of the Christ yesterday with the guy we're studying the Bible with, and man, I haven't seen it probably 2 or 3 years, but wow, I don't think I could do that. On top of all the people mocking me, disrespecting me, which we'll get into. And so I pray you can take this context to the crucifixion. Wow, that is my cross. That really should have been me. Also, as a heads up, I do have some pictures in here that are definitely gruesome, but you gotta see it. You gotta know. This is what Jesus died for. This is what he did for you, and this is what you ought to be. So even if it is uncomfortable, you do need to look at it. You need to look at it too. But if it's too much or something, you can just look away or something like that. You can go ahead and turn into John 19, and we're just going to walk through this. We're just going to walk through the power of Jesus here. Also, as a note before that, the book of John is all about showing that Jesus was God. Yeah, that's a huge thing. You think about in John 1, okay, the Word became flesh. So you got to remember that this book and take it holistically in context. All right, this is God. This isn't just some man, but this is God. And so I think that was meant to shock the readers of this at the time. Oh my goodness, God is going through this. This is something horrific, but this is our God enduring this pain and being disrespected and mocked by these lowly soldiers and criminals. So let's start off in verse 1. So before this, Jesus has already been arrested. Peter has denied him, and Pilate has him, and he's already been beaten and mocked some. But this is more so the specific crucifixion. So start off in verse 1. It says, "Then Pilate took Jesus and had him flogged. The soldiers twisted together a crown of thorns and put it on his head. They clothed him in a purple robe and went up to him again and again, saying, 'Hail, King of the Jews!' And they slapped him in the face." So, just starting off, it's really important to dig in and see the power behind what's being said. So to be flogged, that is something super violent and super gruesome and grotesque. And so, if you're not aware, pretty much what flogging was at this time is Roman soldiers would have this thing. It's called a flagellum, and it's just straps of leather on a handle to form a whip. And then at the end there were these lead balls and also other sharp objects like bone or other shards of things. And the goal of this was, they would just go to town on Jesus and other people. But the lead balls in specific, their goal was to have some extra impact. And so it would bruise more, and they would also bring more blood up to the surface so that the next time when they go over again, that the person being whipped would bleed even more. And so the goal of this was literally tearing Jesus' flesh apart. It was gruesome, and these Roman soldiers were really good at it, and they knew exactly how to go about it. This is only early. This is his maybe third lash or something like that for Jesus. The Google and stuff didn't let me get a full picture, but you can just see that one. That is so gruesome. I remember flinching and wincing yesterday as I saw Jesus being whipped and his flesh being torn apart. And then on top of that too, the thing that was hitting me too was these Roman soldiers just mocking him so much.
Yeah.
You see, it says they twisted together a crown of thorns, and they got a purple robe and put it on him. So this is all to mock him, saying, "Oh, you're such a king, right?
Yeah.
We praise you, we praise you." And finding a purple robe and a crown of thorns, that's not just something you happen upon, or it's just right next to us, we just happen to have this. This is something that these soldiers were intentional about going and finding, pulling it together, and putting it on Jesus. So they're so intentionally disrespectful and driven to mock and belittle our God.
Yeah.
And I know for me, the two big things throughout this whole narrative that really get me, and that I'm just astounded at the love of Jesus, is the physical pain, which is, I couldn't even comprehend that. But then also the fact that he is mocked and so bitterly discouraged throughout this whole time. And he's still going to die for the people that are treating him that way the whole time. Doing some physical pain, if it was for someone I really loved, maybe I could do that.
Yeah.
But if it's for people that hate me and are belittling me and trying to make me small and mocking my efforts for them, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can do that. But Jesus chose to have that because he knew, man, you all in this room today, you are worth it. Your salvation was worth it to him. Continue in verse 4. It says, "Once more, Pilate came out and said to the Jews gathered there, 'Look, I am bringing him out to you to let you know that I find no basis for a charge against him.' When Jesus came out wearing the crown of thorns, the purple robe, Pilate said to them, 'Here's the man.' As soon as the chief priests and their officials saw him, they shouted, 'Crucify! Crucify!' But Pilate answered, 'You take him and crucify him. As for me, I found no basis for a charge against him.'" This time as I was reading this account of the crucifixion, the thing that stuck out to me was, it says, verse 6, "As soon as the chief priests and their officials saw him." So it was instantly, Jesus walks out, and he's covered in blood. His flesh is just mangled ribbons at this point. And they see him so severely punished already, and without even a second thought, they want to crucify him more. Say, it's okay, that was not enough. He needs more. He needs more punishment and death. And so to think about how much these people hated Jesus.
Yeah.
How much? To be willing to inflict that on someone else. Just in general, as humans. That's insane. That would make all of the news if we saw that today. But these people, they were so eager to kill Jesus. Imagine being hated like that. You walk into the room right away, and then everyone turns at you and says, "We want to kill you." That's the only thing that would make us happy. I think if I were to walk in a room and everyone started yelling at me or hooing at me or something like that, that would affect me. That would definitely affect me.
Yeah.
But for them to want to kill me, everybody, man, what? That'd be torture right there. But Jesus is willing to put himself in that position especially to people as terrible as the Pharisees and the Jews who were so opposed to him. We got to be so grateful for this sacrifice that Jesus put himself through. Verse 7 says, the Jewish leaders insisted, we have a law, and according to that law we must die, because he claimed to be the Son of God. When Pilate heard this, he was even more afraid. He went back inside the palace. Where do you come from? He asked Jesus. But Jesus gave him no answer. Do you refuse to speak to me? Pilate said. Don't you realize that I have power either to free you or to crucify you? Jesus answered, you would have no power over me if it were not given to you from above. Therefore, the one who handed me over to you is guilty of a greater sin. Here, another huge thing that really connects with me through Jesus' crucifixion is that he is so surrendered, and he's just living with open hands here. That people keep coming at him, keep mocking him, and here he's got the option. Pilate says, "Hey, I could free you. You don't have to be here. There's an option to get out of this." And then even in Matthew and Mark's account, Jesus tells Peter, "Hey, I could call on 12 legions of angels right away, and then they could just swoop me out of this thing. But I'm choosing to do this because the scriptures must be fulfilled." And I know for me, when I'm doing really hard things, and especially the ones I don't want to, I always question, man, why am I doing this? Is there any way out? Or is there any way to make this easier? Can I find some way out to get out of this? That's my instinct every time. Which I gotta work on, be okay with more pain and stuff. But I think Jesus, he was probably thinking the same thing. But the thing that really drove him was knowing that, okay, everybody in this room is not going to have a shot unless I do this. God is commanding me to do this too. The scriptures must be fulfilled. And he's so surrendered. He just understands, this is what I want. This is what must be done. And I'm willing to do that. There's not even I probably want to lash back or maybe even spit on someone, something, just have some way to get back at the people. Maybe something small, even. But Jesus has no hint of rebellion, because I think in his heart, he loves us so dearly. And he's even loving the people that are torturing him at the same time. He's dying for them too. He's dying for Judas, who betrays him, and Pilate, and Caiaphas, these people who were ambitious about killing and hating him. That was their drive. That's these people, they had to risk disrespecting and going against a really high-ranking Roman government official. That's not just some small thing. They were kind of putting themselves on the line there some. They were driven to hate Jesus, but he's still so eager to love them and die for their sins too. Yeah. Let's continue. Verse 12. Verse 12. All right. From then on, Pilate tried to set Jesus free, but the Jewish leaders kept shouting, "If you let this man go, you are no friend of Caesar. Anyone who claims to be a king opposes Caesar." When Pilate heard this, he brought out Jesus, sat down on the judge's seat at a place known as the Stone Pavement, which in Aramaic is Gabbatha. It was the day of preparation of the Passover. It was about noon. "Here is your king," Pilate said to the Jews. But they shouted, take him away, crucify him." "Shall I crucify your king?" Pilate asked. "We have no king but Caesar." The chief priests answered. Finally, Pilate handed him over to them to be crucified. Let's continue verse 17. It says, "So the soldiers took charge of Jesus. Carrying his own cross, he went out to the place of the skull, which in Aramaic is called Golgotha. There they crucified him, and with him 2 others, one on each side, and Jesus in the middle." All right, so here we got to dig deep into this, because this is a lot right here. So carrying his cross. First off, that cross is estimated now to be about 165 pounds, and Jesus probably weighed a little less than that. It's estimated he's 5'5", so he's probably about the same weight. So imagine carrying something huge, about half a mile, a little less than half a mile. and you're dragging it. So this is like really physically challenging, even if you haven't just been flogged,
Right.
and beaten and spat on and mocked and super discouraged, and all your disciples abandon you, and everyone's going against you.
Yeah.
So just on its own, incredibly challenging. Then imagine, your body is already lacerated, and your muscles are torn apart physically, and carrying that heavy, rough, splintery cross all the way up this hill. And then on top of that, the Roman soldiers were probably mocking him, spitting on him even more. Like, why would they stop that if they've already been doing that this whole time? That is gruesome. That is gruesome. And eventually, at one point, Simon, a guy named Simon, they just pick him off the street because Jesus' body is simply failing. He can't literally do this anymore. So they pick someone else to carry the cross. That whole trek, knowing he's just walking through his death too. It's not like he has some ambition or goal for this, but this is not something he inherently wants to do. So he has to really push himself for our sacrifice.
Yeah.
And then it says there they crucified him. And so crucifixion, super, super, super brutal. But there's kind of a big misconception that when you're crucified, that the nail goes through the hand. But in reality, they choose to go through the wrists. And so what Roman soldiers did was they find a little divot like in the wrist bones here, because if you put it through the hand, like there's not anything to hold it back, so then it just rips out. And so they find a divot between two small bones in the wrist, right in the median nerve, and then they nail it to the cross here. And as it goes through the nerve, Jesus must have felt some fiery, explosive pain going through his whole body. And then they do it to the other hand and stretch him out enough so that he can bear it. And then they take a nail and they put his feet over one another, put a little block on the bottom of the cross so that he can stand a little bit, and they nail it straight through his feet too. And so how someone dies from crucifixion, it's not necessarily blood loss, but it's because of asphyxiation. So the process of someone dying on the cross is that, like when your arms are out here, you can't, and you're hanging down on it, like you can't really get too much oxygen in your chest. And so what you have to do is pull up on the nails that are driven through the median nerve here, and press off of the nail driven through your feet, so you can come up enough so that your chest can expand so that you can breathe. But as you do that, you have fiery pain shooting through your nerves, but you have to, like that's the only way that you can breathe, and you nail it, so you can't get out of it. So they come up, and for Jesus, as he was already flogged and lacerated, he's got to go up against the splintery, rough cross that's on his back. So you got to pull up, probably opening some more wounds, and then ultimately he gets exhausted or can't take the pain, and so he has to go back down where he can't breathe well, and the nails are still piercing through his wrists and the median nerve until he can't breathe, and he goes back up, and then same process, just up and down, up against that rough cross, pulling on the nails through his wrists and feet. And ultimately, like waves of cramps come. He's dehydrated, and at the end, like his pectoral muscles become paralyzed, barely able to draw breath, and preciously treasuring any oxygen that he can take in. And he does this for 6 hours. And this is on top of being flogged, and then ultimately bearing our sin too, which is I think would have been the huge nail in the coffin for him, because finally he's separated from God. Throughout this whole process, he could really lean on God and allow him to pour into him, but at this point, he can't bear it anymore. So, verse 20. Many of the Jews, or verse 19, sorry. Pilate had a notice prepared and fastened to the cross. It read, "Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews." Many of the Jews read this sign, for the place where Jesus was crucified was near the city, and the sign was written in Aramaic, Latin, and Greek. So he wanted everyone to know. The chief priests of the Jews protested to Pilate, "Do not write the King of the Jews. This man claimed to be the King of the Jews." Pilate answered, "What I have written, I have written." When the soldiers crucified Jesus, they took his clothes, dividing them into 4 shares, one for each of them, with the undergarment remaining. This garment was seamless, woven in one piece from top to bottom. "Let's not tear it," they said to one another. "Let's decide by lot who will get it." This happened that the scripture might be fulfilled that said, "They divided my clothes among them and cast lots for my garment." So this is what the soldiers did. So even as Jesus is being crucified, he's suffering so brutally. The people in front of him, they're begging over his clothes and continuing to mock him. And then in other accounts, it says that people walk by and say, "Oh, aren't you the Son of God? Can't you come down? You said you're going to build a temple in 3 days. Aren't you? Can't you just do that right now? How are you going to do that, Jesus?" This continual mocking and disrespect, not just the pain, but you see throughout this whole thing, every bit of comfort and support is just stripped away from Jesus, whether it's physical, whether it's his friends, his disciples, his family, his honor. It's all just ripped away from him. And through this all, though, his heart is so inspiring and so compassionate. As he's being crucified and people are betting on his clothes right in front of him, this is what happens. It says, "Near the cross of Jesus stood his mother, sister Mary, wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus saw his mother there, and the disciple who he loved standing nearby, he said to her, 'Woman, here is your son.' To the disciple, 'Here is your mother.' From that time on, this disciple took her into his home." And so this is something that really connects with me because his heart is always to be with us. And even as he's being tortured, his heart is still so connected to us. And that's all he wants. That's all he wants. There's all these oppositions and all these people trying to kill him, but he still just wants us. And that's it. And nothing has changed. And you see that as he's trying to take care of his mom. And that's it. And that's just really touches me.
Come on, bro. I'm with you.
So, yes, after he takes care of his mom, ultimately he pays the final price. It says, "Later, knowing that everything had now been finished, so that scripture would be fulfilled, Jesus said, 'I am thirsty.' A jar of wine vinegar was there, so they soaked the sponge in it, put the sponge on a stalk of the hyssop plant, and lifted it to Jesus' lips. When he had received the drink, Jesus said, 'It is finished.' With that, he bowed his head and gave up his spirit." So Jesus finally gives the final price of giving his whole life. And I know for me, it's easy to lighten this or be prideful and just desensitized. But we have to connect to this. Because I remember when I first heard this, I remember thinking, how could I not give up everything for the man that just did this for me? The fact that he's God too. This is our Lord being disrespected and being brutalized by these nobodies. But his heart is still so with us. There's been times for sure where my heart strays from appreciating the love of Jesus completely. And honestly, right now I feel like I'm kind of a little disconnected from it and ungrateful and a little selfish, too focused on the tasks rather than the relationship and who God is. But
Come on, bro.
connecting back to this, even though we've heard so many times, but connecting back to this heart that Jesus loves us so dearly is who we're meant to be. That this is central to our hearts as disciples. It's not just information. It has to really connect with you. So I pray that the simple power of the cross moves you to love God as passionately as He's loved you. That you can reciprocate and have your heart be with God as much as His heart is with you. Amen.
Amen.